Welcome to the presentation, Creating Your Professional Brand. What is a brand? At the end of the day, simply stated, brand means your reputation. And where does that begin? How does brand get built? Before there is brand, there's value. Value creates your reputation. Career brand begins with adding value, meeting the needs of customers or the goals of your employers. Think about things that you know about brands. When you see Starbucks, what do you think about? You think about a coffee shop. You think about a community where people can sit around and talk. When you see McDonald's, what do you think about? Fast food. You think about relatively low prices. And over time, brands change. So in the very early stages of companies like McDonald's, it was about hamburgers specifically, and they talked about how many hamburgers they could make, millions sold, tens of millions sold, whatever. They don't do that anymore. Now they talk more about variety and options. Disney's another interesting situation where it's about family. When people see the mouse ears, they think about fun, whether it be in the movies or whether it be about in their theme parks. So strong brands, firms that met a need consistently over time, like McDonald's, like Disney. Those are companies with strong brands. They have a consistent delivery of the desired service, things that people actually want. Brands are not just logos and images. No, brands exist through the eyes of the customer. It's the value delivered and the insights of the customers specifically. Yes, building your brand. How do we do that in terms of ourselves, in terms of our career? Well, it does boil down to, like any company, it boils down to selling. It's knowing your customer. It's knowing their needs. It's knowing their wants. Who is your customer? Well, for a consumer company like Coca-Cola or even a B2B customer company, the decision maker, the actual paying customer, that's who a company would view as their customer. For a job candidate, the customer is the employer. These are the decision makers, the ones who are going to actually go out and decide whether they want the product or you as a candidate. As a good salesperson, you should be thinking about doing a needs assessment of your customer, understand what their needs are, and sell specifically to their needs. And what tools do you have to show your accomplishments in terms of relating to their needs? Well, you definitely want to get a handle on how you have over time made an impact on the bottom line and your leadership qualities. That is probably the primary thing that you're selling. How can you help companies sustainably grow over time? It's not just growing, impacting today's bottom line, but also tomorrow's bottom line. What can you do to ensure the future of this company? That's what they're looking for, and that's what you need to focus on when you're making your sell. You have tools available to you, the building blocks of your reputation as you're going through a job search. So your academic transcript, depending on where you are in your career stage, that could be a useful tool. Your resume or your executive bio could be something that you use. Cover letters, follow-up letters can be very useful. The way you write emails, the way you present yourself in a voicemail, all of these things contribute to your brand. How you interview, how you send your thank you notes, the image that you have, whether it be in person or in line, or if somebody were to Google you and find you online, what would they see on your social media, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter? How do you network? Whether it be networking person to person or networking through your web presence. And actually your performance, very important. That's probably, of all of these things, your performance is really what sells you in terms of achievement of goals, right? Your brand is seen really before you have the opportunity to discuss it with employer. And keep this in mind. You are seen before you're heard. All of those other factors, those all are there before you get there. So making sure that your tools are clean and useful and helpful for your job search, very important. So and you'll continually want to update your sales tools, like I mentioned about McDonald's, continually changing and moving forward with what they what they were presenting to their customers. I mean, your resume, your cover letter, everything needs to be updated real time with any changes that you're making, whether it be internships earlier in your career or jobs or projects later in your career. Your sales tools have to evolve the way you do. And all of these things, everything you do adds up to your reputation, which is your brand, to know what it is that you are selling today. What is your brand today? This is something that you should be clarifying and communicating. What makes you different, special, valuable. Being extremely clear on real achievements, not just these theoretical, I'm good at math, but show, what actually quantifiable analyses that you've made that have led to good recommendations, that have led to good decisions, which have led to some growth in, say, it could be sales growth, revenue growth, margin saves, customer acquisitions, whatever it is that the achievements are. But be clear with real examples, and make sure that those examples are relevant and compelling to your target audience, because that really defines your unique promise of value, your brand. That's what your brand is today. Always important. Can't say this enough. Your personal brand is not something that you define. It's something that is defined through the eyes of the customer. It's through your applications, through your interviewing, through your networks, through your internships, things you do on the job. All of those things, incredibly important. So in building your brand, let's focus a little bit on your applications and your interviews. So how do you look for opportunities? Well, job listings are leads. Think about it from a sales perspective. Something gets posted on a website, a career board or something. It's nothing more than a lead. Just simply, sending in your application may not be good enough. A lead, any salesperson knows that a good lead requires follow-through, research, and a determination about how you might be a fit, right? I mean, how you approach your job leads is it's really how you leave an impression. Whether it be following with the employer through an email, through a voicemail, or whatever it is, that you put into your strategy. You can't rely on these job postings. It's fairly known that not all jobs are posted. In fact, most are not. There have been statistics that say as low as 3% of jobs are posted on job boards, which means that an overwhelming amount of positions are in something called the hidden job market. And why is that? It's because these job postings get an overwhelming amount of applications, and the employer, to sort of avoid that, is able to kind of look through other means, whether it be succession planning or promotions from within or whatever. So just hitting the apply button is not really a way to make an impression. That's not a way to build your brand. It's all of the upfront networking that you do before a job is open, and that's a critical point. Many people, at least mid to late career, very often they'll get jobs, or they'll be strongly considered for jobs before they're open, and it's because of these other brand building activities, such as networking, that allows for that to happen. Following through, right? Again, job boards and networking, you're constantly trying to generate leads, and that's find jobs through the job boards, and that's find people through networking. Those are your two key strategies: find jobs, find people. Follow up with resumes and requests for meetings, because meetings can lead to future meetings, right? And those meetings could be the opportunity for you to build your value story over time. When good salespeople are out there canvassing to get clients, they know they're not going to make a sale the first interaction. They plant a seed. They meet somebody who might introduce them to somebody else, who might introduce them to somebody else. So it's that patience of moving forward and continuing to network through to decision makers. Sometimes one of those meetings can lead to a sale, or in the case of job search, it could lead to an offer. The goal of a resume is to get meetings. That's the point. It's to get you interviews. Your resume is a way to leave an impression, and we in one of our previous webinars, we went into detail about how to write a good, effective resume. The goal of an interview is to get more interviews, right? Meetings lead to meetings, right? And eventually, in sales terms, you're hoping that one of those meetings becomes the close, the sale being made or an offer being made to you for a position, right? How you come across in these meetings, that's what leaves an impression. Again, impression builds brand. We need to really take to heart this idea that this is about selling. This is a selling approach. Explore their needs first. All successful selling starts when the needs of the buyer are identified. Get your customer, your interviewer, to talk about themselves, the needs, their needs, and the position, especially the responsibilities of the position and what problems are facing the company. Relate that to what you are selling. Relate it to the needs that they are, when they bring something up, relate what you have to their needs specifically, and this is where, you'll hear the term the fit, that you can solve problems that they have, right? This is not about qualifications. It's not. It's about selling, right? Most of the time, almost 2/3 of the time, the most qualified person is not the person hired. Why might that be? Is that somebody who thinks that they're really quiet and that thinks the conversation's about them may not be spending enough time thinking about the customer, spending too much time thinking about you. The interviews are not about you. Your job search is not about you. Find out what people want and show them how you can satisfy their needs. Guide the conversation away from them evaluating you as a candidate and get them to start thinking about this meeting, about how you and they can meet goals together, right? Look at this interview as a meeting of equals, and actually speak in terms, in the interview, speak in terms that you're already a part of them and you're already thinking about yourself as we solving problems, right? Help them see that you meet their needs, that you are motivated and you're their kind of person. You will want to think, on your own about things that are important to you. You'll want to, as you're going through the interview process, you're going to want to take stock about the culture. Is this a good culture fit for you? You must explore that. You'll want to, kind of think through, is this the right job in the right place at the right time for you? Depending on your sense of urgency, that may be less important, but if you do have time and choices, it's good to kind of go through this thought process to understand your optimal environment. And then, also consider things like, are there cultural attributes that will help your success and build your brand within that organization, or the opposite, or hurt your brand within that organization. Think about it from the function you're going to be a part of, whether it be a staff function or a sales function. Think about the level that you'll be going into. If you're used to being at one level and you're either going in laterally or maybe a level lower or maybe a level higher, all of those have implications. The industries are very different. Financial services very different from pharmaceutical. So not only the companies have cultures, but industries have cultures. The size of the company matters. Big companies tend to have more specialized jobs. Small companies, you tend to have to do things outside of your job description, and that's not a stark difference, but that's probably directionally correct. The leadership climate, what are their values? Do they develop people, or do they expect people to kind of hit the ground running? It's important to ask those questions. Is it a centralized or a decentralized environment? How problems are solved in each of these environments is almost the opposite. So if you're used to working in a centralized environment, you may find that you're setting yourself up for failure in a decentralized environment. Whether these are, local or companies or global companies, that's an important factor. Are you going to be working in the field, or are you going to be working in the headquarters? Those are all very profound differences, things that you need to explore to see if, you will be, a benefit, and if it will help you to succeed. And you may know this by previous experiences in previous roles. It's good for you to sort of do a self-assessment of company size, field versus headquarters, centralized, decentralized, those kinds of things. As you're going through the process, assess yourself. So, building your brand through networking. So, what is a network? Network is talking to people, seeking information. Networking is rarely about asking for jobs or passing your resume along. It's really about making contacts and expanding who knows you. It could be connecting with friends or making new friends. It's creating relationships that hopefully will be lasting. Expanding who you know and who knows you, very, very important. It could be opportunities for you to help others, to give and get advice and referrals back and forth. Relationships are ways to expose our brands to various constituents, whether it be customers, potential bosses, people of influence. So it's really smart to, as a strategy to build a large and diverse network and to explore things like LinkedIn, which can be very valuable in terms of building your network. Good networkers have basically two things. They have a communication strategy, which is tailored as appropriate, and they have a proactive approach to meeting people with the prospect of helping them. So again, if we go back to that find jobs, find people, finding people will get you further quicker. So it's wise when you're creating your weekly activity strategy in your job search to say that for every 10 jobs I apply for online, I should make at least one live contact, through networking, and it should be a 10-to-1 ratio. And then you set goals for yourself. It could be 20-2, 30-3, 50-5, whatever you decide. But you should set those goals and hit those goals every week. Go to networking events. There's a very cool website called landingexpert.com where you can kind of pop in the county that you live in and look for networking groups. The Landing Expert groups tend to be job search oriented, but there's also going to be many groups out there. Meetups, very popular nowadays. Actually, you can join the website meetup.com and look for areas of interest and meet people who have similar interests to you. So a lot of good good chances there. On networking, and I know we'd have another webinar around the social media aspects of networking, but for our purposes right now, networking is something you're doing all the time, whether you have a job or don't have a job. It's something you should be always doing, always thinking about meeting people and expanding your network. Always do this. Meet it all the time. Explore everyone you meet. Be interested in people. See if you can help them. You'll be better off for it. Your life will be richer, and theirs will as well. Give of yourself, sell yourself. That's how you're going to build your reputation, and that's how people are going to remember who you are, which is your brand. All right. On the job, or if you're early in your career, on an internship. That's another way to build your brand, right? If you're going to do that, any job you go into, it is imperative that you understand the goals of the organization, where the business is, where it is going strategically, how they plan to get there with regard to the position that you're in or applying to. Who are the decision makers, right? Who are the people who, will know whether the company is or the organization is succeeding or not? What are the goals that they measure? How are you connected to their goals and their metrics? Cultural considerations. Know the way the company operates. Are there formal structures that you have to pay attention to? Are there informal structures that you need to pay attention to? Again, know the performance measures, how they define success, and get yourself connected to how they define success. How will the company know that you are an answer for them? Very simple. This is your performance. It's the best way to get your brand out there. Observe what is seen as important to the company. What they focus on and what is rewarded. Very important. Look for opportunities to make a difference. Volunteer if you can. Take on new assignments if you can. Understand the climate and how things get done. Very often there's an informal network of people who are more enabling for success. If you know who they are, get friendly with those people. Right? Final thoughts. Again, you are seen before you are heard. Everything that is seen is your personal brand. It's your reputation. It's your academic performance, your internships. It's the outputs of your work. It's how you network. It's things that you volunteer to do. It's your online presence. All of these things are ways to build your personal brand, right? And then in managing your brand, it's all about adding value and adding it consistently over time. Keep networking. Make sure more people know who you are. Contribute in as many ways as you possibly can. Manage that online presence, your resumes, your LinkedIn, your Facebook. Make it work for you. Stand for something. What is your functional expertise? What are you good at? What kind of problems do you solve better than other people? What is your approach to leadership? What kind of problems do you solve? What makes you unique? Where do you work best? Know these things. What makes you unique? This is all extremely important, as you're building your reputation and building your personal brand. What are you known for? Your brand is your reputation. Thank you for listening, and I hope this was a useful webinar. Thank you.